Well, good morning. We are back here with Nicole Sullivan at Sullivan Law Firm. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
So today we're talking about probate.
It's a fun topic.
It is, but people are scared of it. Why do you think folks are scared of probate?
Well, fun was obviously sarcasm.
Right.
But fun topic, at least in my office, to talk about just because we handle so much of it. So many people are afraid of probate because they think it's this very long, drawn-out process with lots of fighting, and it can be that. I mean, there are definitely situations that last years, and there's lots of family squabbles, and I obviously try to stay away from those type of problems, but they do exist. But I think the biggest thing is people just have these misconceptions about probate and how long it takes. A typical probate timeline would be between 4 and 6 months because most of what we're dealing with is a 90-day creditor period. So we have to let that pass because of statute. But for the most part, it's the timeline, and everybody, the crazy comes out. And when we talk about when parents pass away or grandparents pass away, because everything is emotional, and not only is it emotional, some people think that others are worried about money, and really they may not be. They just want to get the business handled so that they can move on and grieve. So I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions with probate, but really it's not as bad of a process, especially when you come talk to us. We try to make it easy, simple. It's simply process driven. And if we just talk about the process and walk you through that, I feel like most people would think, okay, we can get through this. It may be in time of grief, but also Nicole and her team, we can walk you through it. It's easy, and we can make it a less daunting process.
Is it? So I guess the thing to remember is that if you've got a lot of planning in place prior, you stay out of probate.
Right.
And that's the goal, correct?
Right. That's the goal. Again, you come see us first prior to passing away. And we talked about this before. You start early. You start when you have children, and as time changes, your will may change, your situations may change, and we work through that. But as long as we have everything titled appropriately prior to death, then hopefully we don't have to go through the probate process at all with your children or your loved ones. But if we do, we can still make it an easy process so long as everyone is communicating. That's super important. Communication between family members and then also with us. That's very important. And as long as we just work through the process, then we can get through it quickly and easily.
Well, you mentioned the timeliness. Are there any other misconceptions about probate that people need to know?
There are some interesting misconceptions to me. There is a misconception that if you don't have a will, the state of Mississippi takes your assets. That's not true.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. That may happen if you have absolutely no family members. And I mean family members from going all the way down the line to nieces and nephews, and that may be the case. So I'm not going to say it's never going to happen. I would be a bad attorney if I said that. You know, the attorney answer is always, it depends.
Sure.
So it depends, but that's a big misconception. And then also, we talked about timeline. We talked about the squabbles that happen. But I think the biggest thing is people are just afraid, because people are afraid of what they don't know, and it's not something that you handle every day, whereas it is. Here at Sullivan Law Firm, we handle this day to day. This is our bread and butter, and we'd like to work people through that process.
What about the responsibility of the executor and the administrator?
That's also an interesting one. People think that whomever they name as the executor, maybe other family members after the person has passed think, oh, the executor can change the will, they can distribute assets as they wish. And that's not the case. They have to make sure to follow through with whatever the will says, but not only that, they have to follow through with what Mississippi law says. So there is a lot of oversight for the executor or the administrator, and that is also a misconception that people have, that the executor has a lot more authority than they actually have.
Oversight is key.
Oversight is key in everything.
Right. I think there always has to be checks and balances.
Right.
I think that's what keeps it moving.
Right.
For sure. What are some of the ways that you can steer clear of probate, right, through the estate planning? We talked about estate planning last time we were here. What are some of those other ways you can steer clear of that?
So most important is going to be the tenancy type for your house. So most people that come in to meet with me, they want to talk about how to avoid probate. And what we typically are talking about is going to be your retirement accounts. Make sure all of those are titled appropriately. And what I mean by that is make sure that there are beneficiaries listed on all those accounts. Beneficiaries, contingent beneficiaries, because again, we like to plan for the unexpected. Make sure that there are payable on death. If there are no beneficiaries, that's the same thing, but different financial institutions will call it something different. And then also when we talk about real property or your home and the land that it sits on, make sure that you have either what's called a deed reserving life estate or a transfer on death deed. And those differ. That what I would require, or not necessarily require, what I would suggest to people depends on their situation. Do they want their children to be able to sell the home immediately upon their death so that their inheritance are the proceeds of that home? Do they want to make sure that their children don't sell that home? We also think about, we've talked about before, debts. Do those attach? We kind of talk through all of those things, and once we talk through all of it, then I'm able to better suggest what applies to them.
Is it a smart move? What if you don't have any other beneficiaries to name other than maybe minors?
Then we're going to be dealing with the testamentary trust that we've discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So that we need to make sure that there is a trustee put in place that is there to manage the business, essentially, of what those children are inheriting. So I would not necessarily suggest a deed reserving life estate or a transfer on death deed if there are children involved, but that's what a testamentary trust is for, that we would put inside your will.
We have to talk about prioritizing communication, because I feel like without that, everything falls apart.
Exactly. And we've kind of already spoken about that. But here at Sullivan Law Firm, we prioritize communication. It's so important for us to make sure that we are communicating with you as the client, communicating with you as the family members or the loved ones. That's super important. But we also need that communication reciprocated, because that moves the process along. As long as we're able to get in touch with you when the time comes that we need something signed, or we need to set up a hearing date, whatever the case may be, the communication is back and forth, and we need that reciprocated so that we can make sure the process is seamless, so that you're happy, we're happy, and we can make sure that it all goes well.
And look, you're a local firm. You live here,
Yes.
You work here, you play here, your kids have extracurricular activities here, so you're invested in the community.
Yes, to say the least. I serve on quite a few different boards. My children play sports. We go to school here. I live 5 minutes away. We are invested in this community. So I love this community. I love the people here, and it's important to me to take care of those people from the perspective of probate if a loved one has passed away, or estate planning, just to provide and help guidance for their children once they've passed away. And then also, keeping it close. Like, I think it's important for even the family members that my children go to school with, making sure that they're protected and their children are protected. I like to talk through those things with people, even if we're on the soccer field.
That's right. And listen, if you see her on the soccer field and you have questions, ask her. But if not, call that number on your screen. Reach out to them on their Facebook or their website, and they'll be able to get you on the right track. Thanks for being here, Nicole.
Thank you.